For more than a decade, the Homeland Security Department has ranked dead last in the Partnership for Public Services Best Places to Work in the Federal Government rankings. But this year, DHS jumped up a little bit. For 2023, it had the most improved engagement and satisfaction score among the large agencies. Federal News Network's Justin Doubleday has been following DHS efforts to improve employee morale, and he joins me now. Not only are they up a few points, but they're no longer last. There are 17 moving up to 14 of the large agencies. What's behind all of this, Justin?
It's happened pretty quickly over the last couple of years. 2022 was the first time they weren't in the very last place. They went up to 16th, and then, as you said, they're now up to 14th in the latest 2023 rankings, above the Justice Department and the Social Security Administration, tied with the State Department. Colleague Drew Friedman, she came up with the idea to do a mini-series on DHS's really historic improvements in the partnership's rankings here over the last couple of years. So we've been interviewing DHS leaders about the progress that's been made. And, it comes down to a range of factors, doing pulse surveys, doing different employee feedback mechanisms, paying attention to this issue at the ground level. And then, of course, there's pay. One big thing we saw that happen last year was the Transportation Security Administration, one of DHS's largest components by far, got an historic pay increase for its employees. Some employees saw increases by as much as 30%. And so that really helped drive up TSA's score. It went up by 12 points alone, a major increase for any government component. And so DHS's score has also increased as a result. Beyond that, DHS has seen improvements across different categories like leadership, accessibility, and mission match. And so at DHS headquarters, leadership has really been focused on this issue of employee engagement. That's the message we got when we sat down for an interview with Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
We really have made the well-being of our workforce our top organizational priority. We've invested the time and resources accordingly, whether it is fighting for and achieving pay fairness for our TSA employees, to surveying our workforce through pulse surveys, understanding what their concerns are and addressing them, whether it's our jump teams going out into the field, trying to understand what the challenges are and helping our workforce overcome those challenges. We have been intensely engaged with our workforce in understanding what they need and delivering for them.
And we'll hear more of that interview this Thursday here on the Federal Drive. Tell us more of what you have found in this series.
Yeah, so Drew Friedman, she interviewed the Transportation Security Administration, TSA. We mentioned their big improvement, especially on the pay front last year. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services has historically been one of the higher scoring DHS components, and USCIS continued to make improvements last year. Drew sat down with the director at USCIS as well. And then on the flip side, DHS's Countering Weapons of Mass Destruction Directorate is one of the lowest ranked components within the federal government, really struggling for a variety of issues. I sat down with their leader to discuss what's going on and how they can make some improvements. So there's more to come here this week on this series.
These rankings for DHS, it's been a problem ever since the foundation of the department. Why have they struggled so long until now, do you think?
Yeah, well, as you know, Tom, they were really an amalgamation of components and then some new components that were put together about 2 decades ago under this umbrella at DHS. They really have wide-ranging missions, employees working a variety of different functions under this one big department. I spoke with Chris Comiskey, who served in a variety of roles at DHS during the Obama administration, and he says there's just this really wide range of experiences across the 260,000 employees.
The experience of employees will vary widely among today's operating components. Where a person sits in DHS is going to have a different lens. If you're in Region 9 in California with FEMA, or if you're at the southern border with the Border Patrol, or in CIS call centers in Vermont, you're going to have a much different view of what the department means to you. And that, I think, is the biggest challenge, is trying to meet folks where they are out there and recognize that, in a department with 29,000 frontline managers, that's really where the most opportunity for change takes place, is on those front lines. not necessarily in edicts coming out of D.C.
And the Best Places to Work itself is derived from Federal Employee Viewpoint Survey, which OMB conducts every year, which has many, many more questions. So are there areas in the FEVS, in the Federal Employee Viewpoint Survey, that DHS has done better?
In terms of some of the more positive responses to those FEVS questions, you can really see that DHS does well when it comes to employees really deriving value from the mission, from their work. One of the most positive responses is that it is important to me that my work contributes to the common good. Another one is, being accountable for achieving results and being treated with respect by supervisors. Those are both positive questions for DHS. Another one, employees in my work unit meet the needs of our customers. And then I know how my work relates to my agency's goals. Those are some of the top FEVS responses. So you really see employees deriving a lot of value from their work.
And where are they still needing to, let's say, improve in the FEVS scores?
Yeah, there's a lot when it comes to leadership. And to dive into that, some of the more negative FEVS responses, one of the questions, in my organization, arbitrary action, personal favoritism, and or political coercion are not tolerated. That's one of the highest areas where there are actually negative responses. Management involving employees in decisions that affect their work. Again, many DHS employees said that they don't believe that happens. And then in another way where senior leadership makes a difference, in my work unit, differences in performances are recognized in a meaningful way. So essentially employees think that maybe how they perform doesn't matter. So there's some issues there that DHS has to suss out.
So what do they need to do next to keep those rankings moving up maybe to number 13 or even 10 next year?
Yeah, well, it's highly unlikely that DHS or DHS component is going to see another historic pay increase like TSA received last year. So DHS will have to find other ways to carry forward its momentum. Secretary Mayorkas mentioned two key areas: improving the condition of facilities and then streamlining the hiring process, as well as the ability for people to move between jobs within DHS to make it easier. Those are two focus areas for him. Work-life balance continues to be an issue across DHS. People are working overtime, working hard jobs. Chris Comiskey says DHS leaders should pay attention to what their employees are saying and respond accordingly.
What can they do to compensate for that? Is it more flexibility? Is it better shift scheduling? Is it child care subsidies? They've got a toolkit to draw from that I think they just have to be innovative about, going forward. That it's not always going to be pay increases, but, what else can you bring to the table? And a lot of times it's also just, recognizing the work that's being done and listening to employees and trying to take steps that, improve the conditions so that they can do their job.
And that's Chris Comiskey, former Undersecretary for Management at DHS.
All right, some good progress. And be sure to check out that series by Justin Doubleday and Drew Friedman at federalnewsnetwork.com. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Tom.
Leadership today, especially within the federal workforce, is being tested more than ever before. As the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency's Chief People Officer, Elizabeth Comstetter sees a focus on people as absolutely crucial to her leadership style. Comstetter joined Shane Canfield, WEPA CEO, to reflect on her years of experience leading in the federal human capital space.
Hello, and welcome to the Lessons in Leadership podcast. I'm your host, Shane Canfield, CEO of WEPA. Today I'm joined by Dr. Elizabeth Comstetter, Chief People Officer at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Elizabeth, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
In your current position at CISA, one of your responsibilities is ensuring a people-first culture. Explain what that is, and what's the role of leadership in creating and shaping that culture?
Yes, at CISA, really paramount to our culture is a people-first driven aspect, so that we are really looking at how do we accomplish our mission through our people. And in order to do that, we really value our people. We want them to feel empowered and supported and respected, and also that their managers care about them. So well-being is important. Psychological safety in the workplace is important, so that all voices and ideas are heard. So I like to call it our North Star. Having a people-first culture really starts with the people in order to get our incredibly difficult mission accomplished. In terms of leadership, which is a great question, I think we all know that culture is really driven by leadership and the behaviors that we allow and we reinforce in our leaders. So we really work at making sure that our leaders are bringing out the best in their people every day. So again, that they feel they can